Have you ever been in a situation where all hope seemed lost? Stay with me because the inspiring story of Ruth from the Bible just might change the way you see things forever. Once upon a time, in the days when judges ruled Israel, there was a famine in the land. A man named Elimelech, along with his wife Naomi and their 2 sons, left Bethlehem of Judah in search of a better life. They journeyed to the land of Moab, seeking food and shelter away from their famine-stricken home. But tragedy struck in Moab. Elimelech passed away, leaving Naomi to care for her 2 sons. In time, her sons married Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. For a while, life carried on, but soon, even more sorrow came upon Naomi. Her 2 sons also died, leaving Naomi bereaved of her husband and children. Imagine the grief she must have felt, far from home, in a foreign land, with only her daughters-in-law for company. After hearing that the Lord had blessed her homeland of Judah with food once again, Naomi decided it was time to return. She gathered her belongings and set out on the journey home, accompanied by her daughters-in-law. But as they walked, Naomi said something profoundly selfless. She turned to Orpah and Ruth and urged them to stay in Moab. "Go back, each of you, to your mother's house. May the Lord show you kindness, as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me." Orpah, with a heavy heart, kissed Naomi goodbye and returned to Moab. And then there was Ruth. Oh, Ruth. She clung to Naomi and uttered some of the most beautiful words ever spoken. "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." Can you imagine such loyalty and love? Despite Naomi's insistence, Ruth refused to abandon her. Together, they journeyed back to Bethlehem, 2 widows with nothing but their faith and each other. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the entire town stirred with whispers. "Could this be Naomi?" they asked. Naomi, overwhelmed with sorrow, replied, "Don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty." But the story doesn't end there. Ruth, filled with determination to provide for her mother-in-law, took it upon herself to gather leftover grain in the fields during the harvest, as was customary for the needy. She happened to work in the field of Boaz, a wealthy and kind man who also happened to be a relative of Elimelech. Boaz took notice of Ruth. He asked his workers about her and learned of her selfless devotion to Naomi. After hearing her story, Boaz approached Ruth and offered her protection and favor. "My daughter," he said, "don't go and glean in another field and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. I've told the men not to lay a hand on you. And whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars the men have filled." Ruth's humility and gratitude shone through as she bowed down with her face to the ground. "Why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner?" she asked. Boaz replied, "I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Touched by his kindness, Ruth continued to glean in Boaz's field throughout the harvest, and she returned each day with food for Naomi. Naomi, noticing Boaz's favor toward Ruth, began to consider him as more than just a kind-hearted landowner. Boaz was a kinsman redeemer, a relative who, according to Jewish custom, had the obligation to protect the interests of needy family members. Naomi devised a plan. One evening, under the cover of night, Ruth approached Boaz as he slept on the threshing floor. She humbly asked him to spread the corner of his garment over her, a symbolic request for protection and redemption. Boaz, deeply moved by her faith and courage, assured Ruth that he would do all that was required. But there was one complication. Another relative was a closer kinsman redeemer and had the first right of redemption. Boaz did not waste any time. The next morning he went to the town gate to settle the matter. He gathered 10 elders as witnesses and presented the situation to the closer relative. When the man learned that redeeming the land would involve marrying Ruth, a Moabite widow, he declined, fearing it would endanger his own inheritance. And so, Boaz redeemed the property and took Ruth as his wife. Their union was blessed by God, and Ruth bore a son named Obed. Obed would become the grandfather of King David, the ancestor of Jesus Christ. Isn't it remarkable how God used Ruth, a foreigner, to fulfill his divine plan? The story of Ruth is about more than just loyalty and love. It is a beautiful picture of redemption, faith, and God's providence. It reminds us that no matter how dire our circumstances may seem, hope can blossom when we trust in God. So, what can we learn from Ruth's story? First, loyalty and kindness never go unnoticed. Ruth's unwavering loyalty to Naomi set the stage for her redemption and ultimately made her a part of God's grand plan. Second, God's blessings often come through unexpected people and places. Ruth, a Moabite, was not an Israelite, yet she was grafted into the family of God and became an ancestor of Jesus. And finally, this story teaches us about the beauty of redemption. Just as Boaz redeemed Ruth, Christ redeems us, bringing us from despair to hope, from sorrow to joy. So, if you ever find yourself feeling lost or without hope, remember Ruth. Remember the courage, the faith, and the unfailing love that turned her story of loss into one of triumph. Trust in God, and watch how He can redeem even the most broken of stories. If this story has touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a little hope today. Because you never know, this could be the message they've been waiting for.